I'm making this video because it's dawned on me how much predator type attitudes have invaded our culture. Uh, and I, for one, I'm gonna be a lot more cautious and careful what I do or what I embrace or what I support in my daily life. As well as in talking to people. There's an example. I'll give you several examples. Hooking up has become commonplace. Everybody does it. With the thing about hooking up is there's no mutual commitment at all. It's basically two people using each other because they're lonely, they want companionship, they want intimacy, and then maybe once in a while that they'll actually, you know, start to hook up regularly or form a relationship. But that's the exception. Most times people don't. This has gotten worse since my time, the 80s, when I was in high school. It happened infrequently. People would do things like that, but now it's commonplace. Commonplace. Even people my age and older are doing it. That's one example. Second example is we've found this now with various games out there and online chatting apps. It's a pandemic. The ability of people, any kind of predator, it could be somebody who's a child predator, it could just be a guy that or a girl that's trying to meet other people and get something from them from games, from social media. This is outside of Tinder. Tinder more fits the first thing I talked about, but all kinds of games and social media and it's absolutely mind-boggling how many avenues that a predator could use to target people. It may just be uh, girls, women. Then again, it may be men. Uh, but more importantly, is how easy it is for people to target our children. Games, social media, it's just absolutely mind-boggling. And the reason why it's if somebody's going to use social media or something like that to meet somebody, um, or a game or something to meet somebody to go out with, it just makes you wonder what. It's not like online dating that has controls. It has a set platform. It has rules. This is people who are not good with people who are using these various, pathways to meet people, to hook up, or to hurt them. And there's been more than one stereosexual predator or sexual predator who has used online pathways to find their victims. It's happened more than once, many, many times. Many, many children, end up disappeared, or teens end up disappeared. They end up gone, disappearing. They end up disappearing. Nobody knows what happened to them, and then someone finds them, such and such time down the road, 6 months, 6 years, and find that that they were killed, and nobody can explain why. Oh, the last time that such and such they were chatting with me on such and such, and they were talking about this new person they met. This is an absolute pandemic, and just like it is with any digital crime, we are way behind the curve. The criminals are walking roughshod over American families, and they're laughing about it. Not from prison, like it's supposed to be. That way people can inform on them and you can create dissension within the prison block. No. This is while they're in their covered windows and They're apartments that are rented under a friend's name, or uh, they got 10 people in a house, in a 3 or 4 bedroom house or apartment, and the one person who doesn't have any warrants or anything or bad credit is the one paying, and then they all pay him. Stuff like that. Or they going into apartment complexes that people are running them who favor criminal attitudes, and they give them a place to hide. And when an apartment complex is bleeding money because air conditioning is left on, heat is left on, lights are left on. I mean, literally left on. And the locks are unchanged. The windows that are used in some places are not upgraded to more secure windows. They're bought because they're cheap, and yet they're easy to break in. These are the places where criminals hide. And sometimes they're clever. There's a certain amount now. We have rapists and child predators, pedophiles that are community organizing. They're protecting each other. We have anarchist groups that protect people who've been in prison, saying, oh, there's too many in jail unjustly, trying to put a blanket statement on the entire criminal justice system. And they protect them, give them new identities. I mean, you can buy identities on the dark web now, 50, 100, 200, $300, maybe $1,000 for somebody that's got a really stellar credit rating. And then they keep it until they're outed. Again, our society is moving towards predator behavior being the norm. We have, I had so many more ideas. Oh, you look at movies nowadays. Guys, stay away from those explicit videos. They're destructive in nature, and they only give you a fleeting ounce of any kind of a positive vibe or satisfaction. They're useless. They're all the same, and even if you do find some that people did, willfully, they weren't coerced, they weren't trafficked, they weren't manipulated, still, they're all the same. It's coming from a guy, I just like any other guy, especially when I was in the military, Some guys collect stuff. I'm not saying I did, but I know guys that did. And stay away from them. Again, predator behavior. I'm not saying child sexual predator or rapist mentality, but when you look for the videos for a specific, I want to download these kind today, or they start to cross the boundary where you're attracted to the women you see in the videos, or guys, whatever, or you start, finding that the seduction or the extravagance or the drama of these videos affects how you deal with real people. Damage is being done to your mind, and any healthy relationship it may sabotage. And then also you may learn, because you spend too much time with these videos, it will warp how you handle a relationship. So you may be attracted to people and you're thinking, oh yeah, we're going to have a hot sex life, we're going to have a lot of kids and this and that. But you find out, because you've spent so much time with the stupid videos, that you find a spouse who's cold, not intimate, and you don't have that, exciting, intimate, romantic life and a big family with lots of kids. You have nothing because your spouse is cold, not intimate, and not a sexual person at all. Again, predator attitudes coming into the culture. People do cold calling, try to call people to get their business for this or that, or to resume a business relationship like insurance or retail or something. And again, these people, they don't even know. again, it's looking for business, but then on the other hand, calling somebody you don't know, you don't have any connection to at all. Predatory, predatory behavior once again. I sold insurance, but we called people that were members of our various unions. We had relationships, or various agencies that we had relationships with, that they had these benefits if they wanted them. Very different than cold calling or some kind of telemarketing for TV, or I mean anything. Predatory behavior. And there's a certain amount of predation in sales, but certain lines shouldn't be crossed. When I sold insurance, I had one guy actually lying to people at the table, and I told my supervisor I will never work with him again. I said, I had to do everything to bite my tongue and to uh, try to add statements here or there to diminish what he was saying to the people, lying to them and threatening them. And I thought, again, I never sold with him again. And I told the supervisor about it. I don't know what happened, but evidently the supervisor talked to him because at one point in social media, he was rather rude and confrontational. Um, so I guess the supervisor did warn him and say, hey, you know, the commissioner of insurance, they don't take this stuff lightly. But anyway, predatory behavior can be taken anywhere. People they get angry at people nowadays in this confrontational culture. What do people do? Many, many times, some people just point a finger at different ethnic communities, or different cities or neighborhoods, or certain uh, genders. No, it's pervasive. People like to retaliate. Keying a car now is an anecdotal joke at a bar or at a coffee shop. Predatory behavior, once again. We find people that take care of our elders. You know, I've seen in my lifetime, my family used to run nursing homes. My great grandparents had one, they owned one. And it was very different now. Now it's all corporate, it's business as usual, it's ISO 9001. Everything is systematic, it's replicatable, it's very different now. And hiring people to take care of someone in their home now is not the norm, whereas 20, 30 years ago it was very common. Now it's not the norm anymore. Now many times people go to assisted living or a senior condo community or something like that, or the nursing home is the last stop. And they have staff that take care of people, but even then you have people that target people who are sick or people who are dying. And I've seen this more than once. Actually, recently, I've seen a family that I don't have direct evidence, but I really, really think that somebody who's sick, I think they're using this man, and they're going to use all of his money. That's my personal opinion. But it's I can't state it on a massive amount of evidence. Just on a little bit. But I can certainly see that happening from the situation that is forming right now. Again, predatory behavior. And I've known another person that is actually connected to this family, and also heard another story, similar thing that happened with someone in this family's, well, one of their relatives. Similar thing happened. They passed away, and everything, people jumped on it like crickets on an apple. Like just jumped on it like flies to throw away food. I don't know, what is it? Flies to mosquitoes to the flame. They just jumped on everything, and it was consumed and gone soon. All of the everything that this person spent a lifetime building up, or I mean, this person's relative, it was gone quickly within months. Everything gone, and that was before the estate sale. And again, predatory behavior is becoming a real problem. Somebody works at a call center, they've had a bad day, or maybe they hate their job, but it's the only one they can get because of where they live, or maybe because they have a record, or maybe because they have a string of jobs they've got fired from and nobody will hire them. Or maybe they have a bad attitude and people can sense that at the interview. But they work at a call center, and they use it as a way, they weaponize their job and they hurt people, you know, again and again and again. And they keep notes. They keep notes, and the call center does. Some of the bad employees, they keep notes on people that they don't like. I've seen this in action. I worked at Morley Group of Companies call center. Some of it was beta. Some of our contracts were beta. Some were practice. Some were real. Call centers sometimes will have internal practice where, a couple of months a year, they'll have 5 or 10 calls a day that are practice calls, and it's just to help people with their statistics, and to as a training. Of course, it's hidden training, but that's the best training is when you're training somebody and they think it's a real life situation. But I've seen people weaponize the notes in a call center. I've seen it more than once. I didn't participate, but I did turn people in who did it. And so, again, predatory behavior becoming a real problem. We see places doing price gouging. Personally, we've encountered price gouging everything from gasoline's more complicated because sometimes gas will go like a pattern as you drive through a city and you go to one end or the other, the price will change. And then it could be next week is the opposite. The other end isn't the most expensive. Now it's the cheapest, but it seems to be a pattern with gas. And it's regional. Gas is more complicated. But keep in mind, we are not any serious international conflicts right now. Not like we were 10 years ago in a 17-year war. Things are very different now. We don't buy any oil from Russia. We don't buy oil from China. We don't buy oil from Venezuela. We don't buy oil from Iran. So whatever conflicts are going on in these areas has nothing to do with us. And the Strait of Hormuz near Iran, yeah, they're still messing with tankers, but again, we don't get a significant amount of oil from this region. It's south. So, that being said, when you see the price of gas, and I've seen this more than once the past 3 years, when you see the price of gas jump 40 cents in 6 days, that's price gouging. That's hogwash. Considering that the past 3 presidential administrations, actually 4, have been releasing our strategic oil reserves to keep the price stable, I call that's hogwash. What it is just like some of the food stores, they will order gas from a farther away refinery. They'll do things like that, or like they do with food, they'll order from a farther away warehouse. Or another thing that I've seen people do is they'll let entire trucks sit where half of the food spoils, and they say, oh, we got to write this off. Oh, we got to pay for that truckload of food. We're going to have to up the price 10 cents. That's another way people manipulate that, price gouging. Or when people that own houses and apartment complex sell them at a higher rate, like wink, wink, and apartment places will manipulate the prices for rent, jack it up, even though you're in a depressed area, price gouging. Matter of fact, some of those apartment complexes or new homeowners got tax rebates or tax incentives because they bought an apartment complex or a home in a depressed area, like brownfield zones. So why is the price of rent 2 times what it was 2 or 3 years ago? Now, some people will say, oh, no, the price is equalizing with the national average. When you're dealing with economically depressed areas and areas that are even zoned as brownfields, it has absolutely no relativity whatsoever to national, fair market rent prices. Has nothing to do with it because these are depressed areas. It's people manipulating costs, and it's great for people to have a business, but ultimately the whole idea for vouchers was to put people in homes, get them in an apartment, help them save money, you know, whatever resources that are needed, help them get them. Then they can move into a house. People are using, these are rich people, and sometimes they do retaliate, and sometimes they cover up great evil that happens to people so that they can earn money off these contracts for building, maintaining, or owning a rental property that accepts vouchers. Ultimately, though, the vouchers are for the poor to own a home. That's the American dream, especially for veterans. We are the only people that is mentioned in the United States Code can own a home. We are the only ones. They even have programs to help a veteran get a home. And then you have people trying to weaponize those as well. We're starting to see various things going on, people trying to weaponize that. My suggestion is people want to get a home, don't go out there for the $500,000 one. Start smaller. Maybe get one, if you don't like tiny homes, then, get one for 50 or 60 or 100 and pay it off. And then you can always go bigger. Why do we have to be a culture always in debt? Because we need, we want. Again, predatory behavior. Why can't we just accept this for now? And then you want to go better? Go better. Rent the property out, sell it. You know, rent it to family or let them use it or something. Of course, with a contract and very detail-oriented rules, something like that, or give it away and create a 501c3 so that you can funnel the money and make it a write-off. There's always stuff you can do. But again, we should always be careful of predatory behavior. There's so much of it out there. I had a lot more examples yesterday. But we seem to be moving, people are less focused on family and more focused on themselves in so many different ways. Again, this is also predatory behavior. Parents, your responsibility is your children, not just your career. And I'm not saying you can't have a career, but I'm saying, children should come first. So, if you're an attorney or a doctor, maybe taking those 10 or 15 or 20-minute appointments all day long and packing them back to back until 5 or 6 or 7 o'clock. Maybe it's time to stop it. Somebody is construction or labor or a truck driver taking those long hauls where you're gone for the most part 5 or 6 months a year, and you're only home a couple of weeks a year without a run or without traveling up and down I-75 doing construction gigs. Maybe it's time to take a break for a while. Save your money, budget, because your responsibility is to your family. And life on the road also has a lot of can have a lot of temptations and a lot of dangers to foster predatory behavior. Oh yeah, what the heck? We had a couple of drinks, it's okay. Or oh yeah, she's smoking hot. Yeah, she said $100. Lots of temptation and destruction can be on the path when you're on the road. Oh, I haven't slept with anybody in 3 months since the divorce. Again, predatory behavior easily walked into when you're on the road. So, I just see this more and more that we're becoming a culture of predatory behavior. And people don't care. Oh, yeah, the couple across the way are fighting again. I don't want to be involved. I don't want to be involved with it. It's going to just make trouble for us. And maybe they will retaliate. And, yeah, then we'll get pulled in a court case. I don't want to be involved. This isn't predatory behavior, but it certainly teaches a mentality that is only destructive in a country where everybody's supposed to be your neighbor. Everybody's supposed to be, pursuing the American dream. And when everybody is an enemy and not an ally, again, that fosters a predatory attitude or an attitude of distrust at the least, and it weakens the fabric of our very country.